I have to be completely honest with you, young lady. You look 10 times better now than you did when I left the apartment this morning.
Well, I hope so. I was absolutely exhausted when I got home.
I know you were. And a little bit distant.
Was I?
Yes, you was. Took me a long time to get through to you. For a while there, I wasn't sure if I was going to make it.
I'm sorry. I just terribly worried about Rick.
Why?
Well, he lost a patient last night, but I've never seen him take it as hard as he did.
Yeah. I can remember that feeling. Something no doctor ever really gets used to. You do everything that medical science and your skills provide, and they die. It's a bitter experience.
Anyway, thank you for being so understanding and so gentle in spite of my mood.
Hey, it's all part of being married. Understanding each other's moods, helping each other through them. I'll always be there for you, Monica. That's something you can bank on.
I do. More than you'll ever know. I just don't want to overdraw my account.
No chance. You have unlimited funds. What's the matter? Have I said something wrong?
No, of course you haven't. It's just I am still terribly worried about Rick.
Monica, he'll get over it. We all do in time.
It's not just about the loss of the patient. It's something else, Alan. It's something that is eating away at him. I mean, look, this is a time in his life right now where he should be happier than he's ever been. I mean, he's going to be head of the cardiac wing when it's finished. Instead, he's quiet, he's withdrawn, he's brooding.
He probably has a lot on his mind. Have you tried to talk to him about it?
Yes, I've asked him straight out what was wrong. And he pretends there's nothing. But it doesn't fool me, because whatever it is partly responsible for him taking things so hard last night.
Well, my guess would be it has a great deal to do with his domestic situation. He's probably still trying to work things out at home with Leslie and Laura.
Yeah, I suppose.
But it isn't something that's going to resolve itself overnight, Monica. They've got a long uphill climb ahead of them, believe me. Ellen. Monica. Hi.
Hi, Rick. Hi, Laura. How are you today?
Just fine, thanks, Monica.
Would you two like to join us?
We'd love to, but Laura and I have a little thing we have to talk about.
Well, if I don't see you before, have a nice Thanksgiving.
Hey, you have the very best possible. Bye.
Bye. Well, Tracy seems in extraordinarily good spirits today, don't you think?
Yeah. It's just too bad she can't go to Long Island for Thanksgiving.
Listen, I'm a bit relieved. I can only take so much of a curiosity in questioning.
What do you mean? What is she questioning now?
Monica, she's always on about something. I mean, today she came right out and she asked me if you were pregnant.
Why is she so intrigued by that?
Oh, it's as I told you before. She has a very basic reason for that. It all goes back to my grandfather's trust fund. Tracy's had her eye on it ever since the day he died. We're going to beat it with a punch, aren't we?
Why is it so important?
Monica, we're talking about millions of dollars.
Well, how much money can you spend in a lifetime? I don't care about the trust fund. All I care about is giving you a child that you will love and be very proud of. What's the matter?
That sister of mine. You heard me tell her to man the office?
Yeah?
She just walked in with Gary Lancer.
Did you find anything out yet?
I'm afraid it struck out, Tracy. She wouldn't tell me anything.
Yeah.
Now, don't lose hope. I'll find out for you, one way or another.
I hope so, Gary. I am counting on you. I'm quite sure that you're sick to death of my asking you whether you're pregnant every time I meet you.
I am not that at all. I'm just disappointed I can't give you an affirmative answer.
Well, these things can't be rushed, darling. We must just learn to be patient and let nature take its course.
While we have this time alone, I'd like to ask you something.
Well, of course, dear. What is it?
Well, it's about Tracy. It just seems to me, Lana, that she's terribly threatened every time Alan or I mention having children. I mean, so much so that, well, I've used that sometimes just to shut her up. It always works.
Yes, I'm sure it does. How very clever of you to think about it.
Well, Alan thinks it's because of their grandfather's trust fund. But Lila, really, I mean, could it be that important to her?
I'm afraid so, Monica. Of course, there's a great deal of money involved, but I think it goes even deeper with Tracy. Because with or without the fund, neither she nor Ned will ever have to worry about money.
Well, then why the fixation?
Ah, it's in her nature, I suppose. You see, from the day that her son was born, Tracy has been convinced that she'd start supervising that fund as soon as Ned was 12 years old, according to the terms of my father-in-law's will. And what Tracy wants, Tracy means to have. I've never said this to anyone before, and I feel a little disloyal about saying it now, so you mustn't ever repeat it.
No, of course not.
Well, I have always been convinced that it was Tracy who tried to break up Alan and Grace Dobson just before they were married.
How?
Oh, by dropping little hints to Alan that Grace was really only using him in order to get revenge on her first husband.
Well, that's awful.
Well, Tracy is very much like her paternal grandfather in that respect. She'll stop at nothing to get what she wants, once she's made up her mind that she really wants it.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Like now with Mitch Williams.
Oh, you mean that assistant district attorney that she brought to the party?
Mm-hmm, yeah. That seems to be her latest objective.
Dad's on the phone, but he said he'd join us as soon as he gets through.
Who's he talking to?
I don't know, but it's some kind of business deal.
Oh, as if I had to ask. It's business 24 hours of the day with Edward. Oh, dear, I do wish I could get him to slow up a little. Or at least agree to a vacation. He's working all the time now, and he does so need to rest up.
Well, I try to talk to him about it, but he won't listen to me. So, what were my two favorite girls discussing all this time?
Our favorite man. Weren't your ears burning?
Why do you think I came in?
I was hoping you were drawn by my magnetic attraction.
Oh, well, that goes without saying.
No, it doesn't. I like to hear it.
All right, I was drawn by your magnetic attraction. How's that?
Thank you.
Well, that's all taken care of. Sorry, darling, I had to be so long.
Well, from the look in your eyes, I can see that the deal you got went through.
It did indeed, and at a much better price than I had even hoped for.
You see, it goes on all around the corner. Business, business, business. Night and morning, Sundays and holidays.
Well, at least you can't accuse me of being selfish. At this point in my life, it's all for Tracy and Alan, anyway.
You don't have to do that on my account, Dad. You know that. I've got all I'll ever need. Believe me, I would much rather see you retire and enjoy life for a while.
Work is my life, Alan. If I retired, I'd die of boredom.
Oh, that doesn't say very much for me, does it?
Oh, now, don't be hypersensitive, darling. You know what I mean.
Yes, I'm afraid I do.
Well, how's that sister of yours? How's she doing?
Fine.
Still excited about her job?
Oh, she seems to be.
That and our assistant district attorney seem to be her chief interest at the moment.
I think Tracy's finally met her match with this Mr. Williams. I assume that he's the reason she didn't fly up here with the two of you for the holidays.
I'm pretty sure it is. Even though she insisted it was because of all the work that she has to do.
I must say, I still don't see what the attraction is.
Well, I tried to explain it to you, Monica. That evening I flew up there for the groundbreaking ceremonies. But perhaps you would have had to have seen Tracy through her 4 disastrous marriages to really understand it.
Well, then I would think she would be more careful with future relationships. But I was with her when she first met Mitch Williams, and one look, and it was like an electric shock.
Ever since Tracy's been a little girl, she's had to look for the challenge in everything. Schools, games, friendships, business investments, everything. No man she's ever met or been interested in has offered her much of a challenge beyond the original conquest. But I think this Williams does. Because what I've seen of him, he's always looking for a challenge of his own.
I think that's a pretty fair statement.
Well, it's pretty obvious. Take his profession, politics. Constant challenge and competition. No, I'd say that he and Tracy are two of a kind.
Oh, yes. I think Williams will test her mettle all right. And if dear little Tracy is looking for a challenge, I think she's met one in him.
Wonderful. I don't know, I'll ever get used to all this luxury. But I do know every time I come to this house, it feels just a little bit more like home.
Well, you better. It's going to be yours one day.
I can't imagine that.
It's true. And I know so because my mother as much as told me that.
Oh, well, what about Tracy?
Hang Tracy. The house is in my mother's name for tax purposes, and Tracy's never shown any real affection for this place. Mother knows that. She also knows how much I love this place, and I always have. So she's decided to leave it to us.
It's a beautiful house. It's substantial.
Mm. And one day when we retire from our careers, we'll come and we'll live here permanently. And then you can be the mistress of the manor. What? It's so funny.
Oh, the funny turns life takes. If the kids in the orphanage in St. Louis could see me now.
Well, I'll tell you what. We'll send them all invitations to come and visit us in our declining years.
Unfortunately, they'll be in their declining years, too. They haven't already declined.
Anyway, something to look forward to, isn't it?
What else? I had a nice talk with your mother tonight. Very interesting.
Hmm?
She told me something I almost hate to believe.
What's that?
You promise that you won't get angry or upset.
I promise.
She told me that she's always felt it was Tracy that was responsible for breaking you and Grace house, you know. That she was afraid that you'd have a child with her and that would negate her son's claim to your grandfather's trust fund. You are upset. Look, I didn't mean you to be.
I'm not upset. To be perfectly frank, I've suspected that for many years. And I just hope it makes you realize, Monica, what a truly dangerous enemy my little sister can be.
Well, I can't think of Tracy as an enemy.
Monica, I told you one time when you said you felt sorry for Tracy, you better be on your guard because it only means that she's starting to spin her web. Well, I meant it. We're both going to have to watch her very carefully, believe me. Because nothing would give my little sister more pleasure than to destroy everything that we have together.
I'd just like to see her try it.
I wouldn't.
Look, could we go back to talking about happy things? Like being in this house in our declining years. With all our children, with all our grandchildren around us.
But, first we have to have the children, you see. You mustn't confuse the issue, okay? So first things,